New this morning, a local nonprofit and the University of Texas School of Public Health are working to reverse the trend of e-cigarette use among students, one breath at a time. Last year, according to the CDC, 3 million middle and high school students were users of e-cigarettes. It's all part of a new program now available across the country. Inside C.D. Folks Middle School, Valerie Phillips is on a mission to help her students make good choices.
The name of the worksheet is The Pressure's On.
That peer pressure can be to pick up an e-cigarette. As a wellness teacher, Phillips is using the Catch My Breath program to keep that from happening.
When we started, they didn't know a whole lot about e-cigarettes, so we together learned the information. So I think it really opened their eyes.
And since it got going in about 2011, usage among youth has gone up tenfold. So there's just this explosion in youth use. It's really no exaggeration to say it's a public health epidemic.
Duncan Van Dusen is the executive director of the Catch Global Foundation. Catch My Breath is a preventative program in partnership between the UT School of Public Health and the foundation. The lesson plans educate students about the reality of e-cigarettes.
We want to do the same thing that the public health community has done for cigarette smoking over the years and make sure that the trend is turned around and it starts going back down.
Seventh graders Udi Ekpo and Journey Carruthers are listening. They're peer leaders for the program.
In my generation, there's like so many bad things that you could like participate in nowadays that like won't help you in the long run of life. So like it's good for like people my age to learn about everything now.
I only knew a little bit because like you would see people walking down the street smoking.
The younger we can get the information to all the kids, even if it's down in elementary school, you know, that's just one more tool in their tool chest to make better decisions about their own health.
Catch My Breath targets 6th through 8th graders. Phillips helped pilot the program last year and hopes to see it grow.
My advice will be that this needs to go out to all the schools so that we can reach every 6th, 7th, and 8th grader in Round Rock ISD.
Our hope for the program is to get it into every middle school in the country. We know this is a problem. We know that less than 20% of middle schools around the country are doing any kind of e-cigarette education at all.
This team is committed to stopping the trend of e-cigarette use and hopes to reach every student. And if you're interested in learning more about the Catch My Breath program, you can contact the Catch Global Foundation. You can find more information at catchinfo.org.
A new program is aimed at teaching kids about the dangers of e-cigarettes. It's called Catch My Breath. Advertisers tout the chemical-laced electronic device as a healthy alternative to smoking. But health experts warn that this latest fad may lead to dire consequences to your child's health. Catch My Breath is hoping to blow away the misconceptions and misinformation about e-cigs and educate youngsters.
Catch My Breath is a program which was created in response to what is genuinely a public health emergency. According to the latest CDC numbers, 24% of high school students have smoked an e-cigarette within the last 30 days, which is a really alarming number, and it's 10 times higher than what it was 5 years ago. So e-cigarettes are now the tobacco product of choice for youth, unfortunately.
The program is designed for 6th through 8th graders. Educators who have an interest in teaching their students the curriculum can order it online.
Health professionals are teaming up with schools to prevent the use of e-cigarettes. That move comes after a study showing a spike in vaping among middle and high school students. 10 News reporter Rachel Whittle explains new prevention programs and how vape shops say they're making sure they sell to the right customers. Rachel?
John, Knox County schools prohibit e-cigarettes on campus, but after a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention study found that middle and high school student users had tripled from 2013 to 2014, health professionals are focusing on prevention through education.
As e-cigarettes grow in popularity, health professionals are worrying about who's using them.
They've been marketed as cool, especially with the youth.
The Knox County Health Department says a study shows e-cigarette use is rising among middle and high schoolers, with 3 million currently vaping.
It's especially concerning because middle schoolers, youth in general, your brain is still developing, and so they're at a vulnerable time for habits. Definitely nicotine addiction.
Although new FDA regulations have made it illegal for minors to buy e-cigarettes, health educator Carrie Thompson says those closest to kids could be contributing.
There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and so parents think that it's just water vapor, which it is not just water vapor. So they'll purchase them, for their child.
If the kid comes in and says, "Give me that," and I ask for that ID, and then mom says, "Here's my ID," no.
Even with warning signs on his door, E-Vape Lounge owner Seth Barber says his vape shop has always been vigilant in getting its products in the right hands.
January 1, 2015, it was law in the state of Tennessee that I could not sell to minors. We opened in March of 2014, and that was policy from day one.
He says the study may be misleading since it asks students if they had used the product at least once in the last 30 days.
If I don't like broccoli, but I had one piece of broccoli the other day, I'm a broccoli eater by their statistics. Doesn't mean I'm actually do it regularly, but that's how they run their statistics.
But the health department wants to keep kids from trying them even once, starting with a new global prevention program they tested on Knox County grades 6 through 8.
They learned about the false advertisements that are out there about those products, and then how they can resist peer pressure and say no.
After testing the pilot program, Thompson says the health department has distributed materials to Knox County teachers for a new but similar program called Unfiltered. It would cover traditional tobacco, smokeless tobacco, and electronic devices and can be used starting this fall. John?
Well, the CDC is highlighting an alarming new study that shows a growing number of high schoolers and even middle schoolers using e-cigarettes. Health experts warn the latest fad may lead to dire consequences to children's health, especially with the temptations out there when kids go back to the classrooms this fall. But advertisers say e-cigarettes are healthier alternatives to smoking. A new program called Catch My Breath, hoping to clear up any misconceptions and misinformation about e-cigs and educate youngsters about the dangers taking up the habit. Experts say it's important now to teach them right now before they get to high school.
They haven't decided to try it nearly to the extent that high school age kids have tried it. So high school age kids are smoking about 3 times as often as middle school age kids. So middle school is the time to hit them, particularly 6th and 7th grade, so 11, 12 years old, to educate them about what they're really putting in their lungs and putting in their bodies.
And if you're interested in learning more about that new program, head to catchmybreath.org.
Well, health experts are also trying to reach preteens before they try e-cigarettes. They started a new program called Catch My Breath to target middle schoolers. The Centers for Disease Control found e-cig use among middle and high schoolers tripled from 2013 to 2014. They say many kids try them because parents don't think the electronic smoking devices are dangerous compared to normal cigarettes.
There's a lot of misperceptions about how e-cigarettes are safe, and they're not. And that's why we created the program. And the reason we targeted the program to 6th through 8th graders is because during that period of time, there's a small amount of experimentation going on among kids, but they haven't decided to try it nearly to the extent that high school age kids have tried it.
The FDA just extended its authority to cover vape shops and e-cigarette use starting this month.
Health experts also trying to reach preteens before they try e-cigarettes. Started a new program called Catch My Breath, and this is designed to target middle schoolers. Centers for Disease Control found e-cig use among middle and high schoolers tripled from 2013 to 2014. They say a lot of kids try them because parents just don't think electronic smoking devices are dangerous when compared to normal cigarettes.
A lot of misperceptions about how e-cigarettes are safe, and they're not. And that's why we created the program. And the reason we targeted the program to 6th through 8th graders is because during that period of time, there's a small amount of experimentation going on among kids, but they haven't decided to try it nearly to the extent that high school age kids have tried it.
The FDA just extended its authority to cover vape shops and e-cigarette use starting this month.
The CDC highlights an alarming recent study which shows a growing number of middle and high schoolers are using e-cigarettes. And although many advertisers tout the chemical-laced electronic device as a healthy alternative to smoking, Health experts warn that this latest fad may lead to dire consequences to your child's health. A new program, Catch My Breath, is hoping to blow away the misconceptions and misinformation about e-cigs and educate youngsters about the dangers of taking up the habit.
Catch My Breath is a program which was created in response to what is genuinely a public health emergency. According to the latest CDC numbers, 24% of high school students have smoked an e-cigarette within the last 30 days, which is a really alarming number, and it's 10 times higher than what it was 5 years ago. So e-cigarettes are now the tobacco product of choice for youth, unfortunately, and we created the program in order to educate kids about the dangers of nicotine addiction and the dangers of the other chemicals that are in e-cigarettes.
Nothing, Tyler? Dewson says they target middle school students because high school-aged kids are smoking 3 times as often. They're hoping the program can reach middle schoolers to reduce the chances of them smoking and to develop some resistance skills.
A growing number of middle school age kids are using e-cigarettes. That's according to a new study. Although it's marketed as a healthy alternative to smoking, health experts warn that this latest fad may lead to dire consequences to your child's health. A new program called Catch My Breath is hoping to remove the misconceptions and misinformation about e-cigs and educate kids about the dangers of taking up the habit.
So we're definitely getting it out nationally. We ran a pilot program this spring that included schools in 7 different states around the country. So the program is now available nationally.
The program offers in-class activities, teacher education, online resources, and take-home materials for parents.
The CDC has found 3 million children have picked up e-cigarette smoking in the last year, and that's up from 2014. Catch Global Foundation and the UT School of Public Health are working to curb that trend. Our Victoria Moranin shows us how a new program could help kids catch their breath.
According to the CDC, more than 3 million kids have picked up the habit of smoking e-cigarettes last year. Now, that's a pretty alarming rate. So we have Duncan Van Dusen here with Catch Global Foundation. So tell us a little bit about this initiative to combat that number.
Yeah, so we created a program called Catch My Breath, and the purpose of Catch My Breath is to address this public health emergency that 10 times more children are smoking e-cigarettes than were just 5 years ago. And the reason that's significant is because most e-cigarettes contain nicotine, and nicotine is known to be highly addictive, and it's known to damage a developing brain. Most people's brain isn't fully developed until they're about 25 years old, so kids that are 11 to 14 years old are very, very susceptible to the dangers of nicotine. And the final reason is there's no other program on the market that actually addresses e-cigarettes specifically, and kids and parents don't have the facts. Well, we're targeting middle schoolers because that's the age when they're very susceptible to media influences, very susceptible to peer pressure, and it's right around 8th or 9th grade that usage starts to skyrocket. So we want to get to kids primarily in 6th and 7th grade before they get to the phase where lots of kids are experimenting. We want to give them the facts and give them the reasons not to try.
Tell us your findings.
Right, so we did a pilot in 26 schools in 5 states around the country, including 3 here in Central Texas, and we noticed that the program significantly increased the knowledge that kids have about e-cigarettes and the health dangers. It also decreased their susceptibility because it made them more aware of the deceptive and seductive advertising techniques, made it more aware of peer pressure. We found that the kids liked the program, which was really important. And most importantly, we found that 86% of kids said, in their own words, that they would be less likely to try e-cigarettes as a result of having done the program. So that was great.
So I guess you want to get them young before they even start high school, right?
Yeah, because considering, like, when I spoke with Dr. Kelder here earlier, some of them have been picking it up earlier than high school. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. One of the reasons we created Catch My Breath for middle school students is that we find that they start using them as young as maybe even 5th grade, but then 6th and 7th, between 7th and 8th grade is when it really shoots up. So what we want to do is give kids the tools they need to resist the peer pressure and the media glamour, you might say, to using e-cigarettes.
Well, considering that the CDC reported that about 3 million kids of that age picked up the habit last year, what do you have to say about that?
Well, you know, I'd say that's an epidemic. And what I mean is there's been a 10-fold increase in the last 5 years of middle school and high school use of e-cigarettes. And while I'm happy that regular cigarette use is going down, e-cigarette use is shooting way up, and e-cigarettes have nicotine. Nicotine is addictive, and nicotine causes more harmful consequences to our brain when we're young. When the brain is maturing and developing, it interferes with normal growth and development. So we definitely don't want that.
All right, so some people might argue, it's like, all right, so well, at least I'm not smoking cigarettes. Some people would argue that e-cigs are the safer bet. Would you agree with that?
Well, you know, the jury's not out exactly on e-cigarettes because we don't know everything that's in them yet. Manufacturers are not compelled to tell us what's in an e-cigarette. So while we absolutely know that smoking is bad and there's thousands of chemicals and other constituents that cause cancer, and that's probably not the case with these cigarettes, we just don't know enough. And what we do know is that they're not completely safe.
Health experts are trying to reach preteens before they try e-cigarettes. They started a new program called Catch My Breath to target middle schoolers. The Centers for Disease Control found e-cig use among middle and high schoolers tripled from 2013 to 2014. They say many kids try them because parents don't think e-cigs are dangerous compared to normal cigarettes.
There's a lot of misperceptions about how e-cigarettes are safe, and they're not. And that's why we created the program. And the reason we targeted the program to 6th through 8th graders is because during that period of time, there's a small amount of experimentation going on among kids, but they haven't decided to try it nearly to the extent that high school age kids have tried it.
Just extended its authority to cover vape shops and e-cigarette use starting this month.
New this morning, if you're a parent to a teenager, you'll want to hear this. As teenagers go back to school, they could feel pressure to start smoking.
Yeah, so many have actually turned to vaping as kind of a healthy alternative to traditional cigarettes. But the CDC says the chemical-laced electronic devices may lead to serious consequences for your child's health. A new online program called Catch My Breath is hoping to blow away misconceptions and misinformation about e-cigarettes.
Talks a lot about media literacy, so understanding the advertising techniques that companies use to make something appear sexy, glamorous, cool, whatever, and to learn the internal skills to resist those techniques and realize you're being sold a dream, you're not being sold a reality.
So we've posted this link to the program on our website. Just go to myfox28columbus.com, then click on the Back to School section under the News tab.
In a Fox 17 Health Alert tonight, a new nationwide program is hoping to keep middle and high schoolers from using e-cigarettes. It's called Catch My Breath. It was formed in response to an alarming CDC report showing that more students are now using e-cigarettes. Many advertisers tout e-cigs as a healthy alternative to smoking, but these program directors say it's just not true.
So we're definitely getting it out nationally. We ran a pilot program this spring that included schools in 7 different states around the country. So the program is now available nationally.
Centers for Disease Control study finds that as e-cigarette use increased, or I should say that it did increase, as students were exposed to more e-cigarette ads. Katie?